So today we're looking at how to divide fractions by fractions. This is a more longer lesson edition, so if you need extra help or maybe you miss class, this is the place where you want to be. Let's go over a couple of things that we need to know first. What is a reciprocal? A reciprocal is just the multiplicative inverse of a fraction. Basically, it means I'm going to flip the fraction. Here goes just a few examples of that. So the reciprocal, or 2/3 flipped, is 3/2. Same thing, 5. You have to turn 5 into a fraction, which is 5/1. But the reciprocal is just meaning I'm going to flip it. And so now my new fraction will be 1/5. And anytime you multiply a number by its reciprocal, it's always going to equal 1. How to multiply fractions, which we talked about in an earlier video. Let's quickly go and review over the steps. Keep, change, flip, or reciprocal, and we'll talk about each step. Keep the first fraction the same, change the division sign to a multiply sign, and flip the second fraction. That is also called the reciprocal, which we learned about previously. Let's look at the example below. Keep 4/5, and I'm going to change my division sign to a multiply sign, and then I'm going to flip 2/3, which gives me 3/2. So now I have created an equivalent expression to 4/5 divided by 2/3. This is also equal to that same operation. Next, I would just multiply straight across and reduce where I can or convert into a mixed number. Let's look into a few practice questions. Reminder that the steps are in the corner if you need them, but let's quickly go over this example. Keep the first fraction, change my division sign to a multiply sign, and then I'm going to flip or find the reciprocal of 1/2, which in this case is 2/1. My next step is just multiplying my numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. 3 times 2, that gives me 6. 4 times 1, that gives me 4. Next, I can't leave it like this because it's an improper. So now I'm going to just divide it to see how many times 4 goes into 6. 4 goes into 6 one time, and I will have 2 left over. So now let's make it into a mixed number. This will be my whole number, so 1 and 2/4, because my denominator does not change. So now I can just simply reduce it down by 2. And I get 1 and 1/2. Let's look at another example. Keep, change, flip. And just practice that a couple of times. Keep, change, flip. Multiply straight across, numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. 4 times 5, that gives me 20. 9 times 2, that gives me 18. We know that 18 goes into 20 one time, and I have 2 left over. So again, I have to convert this into a mixed number. 1 is my whole number. 2 would be my numerator, and my denominator would be 18. And I can just simply reduce that by 2. That gives me 1 over 9. And my answer is complete. Next, let's look at 2 word problems to help us better understand this concept. Let's see if we can identify any key words or key information that we would need. A cookie factory uses 1/8 of a barrel of oatmeal in each batch of cookies. The factory used 3/4 of the barrel of oatmeal yesterday. How many batches of cookies did the factory make? So first of all, let's go through and box in my important numbers that I need to know. So of course we need to know 1/8 and 3/4. Let's go also in and circle any keywords that we might have. In this case, usually it's followed by a fraction or before a fraction. It's going to be that word of. In this case, of is telling us the total amount that we started off with. So 3/4. And we just want to know how many batches of 1/8, that's my question, I can get into 3/4. So we're going to divide by 1/8. Using my same steps, keep, change, flip, and multiply straight across. 3 times 8, that gives me 24. 4 times 1, that gives me 4. And I can divide or reduce in this case, and that gives me 6 times. So they made 6 batches of cookies at the factory. Jamie divided 3/5 of a liter of plant fertilizer evenly among some smaller bottles. She put 3/10 of a liter into each bottle. How many smaller bottles did Jamie fill? So just like we did on the previous problem, let's go through, circle, underline, and box in our important information that we need to know. So let's go ahead, let's box in my important numbers. 3/5, 3/10. In this case, my 3/5, that would be the number that I'm dividing into. So that'll be my dividend. We're dividing it by 3/10 because that's how big each bottle is in that case. I'm going to go ahead and circle the word each. Remember, each can mean multiply or divide, but in this case, we mean divide. And then I'm going to underline my question. How many smaller bottles did Jamie fill? So 3/5 divided by 3/10. Keep, change, flip, or reciprocal, and then multiply straight across. 3 times 10, that's 30. 5 times 3, that's 15. And I'm going to divide it or reduce it. And I know that 15 could go into 30 2 times. In this case, she filled 2 smaller bottles. The last thing, try some independent practice by yourself. Pause,